Dune revealed. King Kong, Myth of Terror Island revealed. A new episode of What's Cooking With.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Joosten. I'm the editor of Pinball Magazine, and I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Martin Ebb, and I'm the editor of Pinball News. And Jonathan and I are here to bring you the very latest edition of the Pinball Industry News PINcast. And this time, we are looking back on the month of April 2025 and all the exciting things that happened in the wonderful world of pinball.
Right.
And there was a lot.
Well, from a few companies there was, from several other companies not so much, but we'll get into that. The best part is 2 new games have been revealed, and we knew they were coming.
Yeah.
So let's start with Dune, which was is the newest game for Barrels of Fun.
Yeah, we previewed it last month, although we mentioned that Jonathan and I had already seen and played the game, but we weren't able to talk about it. And now, at last, we can reveal that it is Dune, based on the 2021 and 2024 movies produced by Legendary Entertainment, rather than the much older Dune movie. So it's based on both of those movies.
Right. I'll mute
Absolutely.
that. Sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, based on the 2021 and 2024 movies produced by Legendary Entertainment. And they have all the assets from those movies. So they got some amazing footage. And I was going to say they've got the original soundtrack. Well, they've got the main theme from the game, which Hans Zimmer, I believe, composed. Mm-hmm. So that's included in the game. Now, we weren't entirely sure when this game was going to be released. It's a funny time for releasing games right now.
It's a very crowded market.
It is, and there's kind of like there's a couple of elephants in the room, as it were, in the form of King Kong and Harry Potter.
Right.
So other companies...
And tariffs.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and tariffs as well. So people or companies are looking around to see when's the best time to launch their games in, as you say, a crowded market with some big titles on the horizon or about to be revealed. So Barrels of Fun decided to bring their launch forward a little and reveal their Dune game before Stern got to reveal their next cornerstone game,
which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes.
Exactly. So that meant that they didn't necessarily have all the assets available. This is Barrels of Fun didn't have all the assets available that they would have liked to have had come the launch. They also had a media influencers day set up where various podcasters and other pinball media were invited to the Barrels of Fun factory in Houston to play the game and interview the design team, but that wasn't until a couple of days after the reveal. So although it didn't launch exactly the way they wanted, they launched first of all with only a teaser trailer rather than a full gameplay, and that didn't come until a couple of days afterwards. Right. The game did seem to be very well received, and it came as a big surprise to a lot of people exactly how attractive it was. I think many people thought of Dune and as not being a subject or a movie license that they are particularly interested in.
Well,
but once they saw the game...
Just a second, we'll get to that. But before, speaking of the launch, I believe actually it was Pinball Star, one of the distributors for Barrels of Fun, that actually got the scoop on the game. Because I was waiting for official material for the game to be revealed, and bam, there it was on their Facebook.
Yeah. I got an email from them about it as well with pictures, and I thought, oh right, okay, they brought the launch forward even further than I was expecting.
Right. While I was waiting for basically the green light to announce that the game had been revealed, out of the blue, Pinball Store basically got all the credit. So, so it was a bit of a, how do you say, a bit of a, I don't know how to say it. It was a bit of a, I don't know how to say it. It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, I don't know how to say it. It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, I don't know how to say it. It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, I don't know how to say it. It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? It was a bit of a, how do you say it? unexpected launch. Let's put it mildly.
Yeah, I contacted Barrels of Fun when I saw this was out and said, okay, is this something which should be out there? Is this has they gone early with this and they shouldn't be publishing this yet? Because I didn't want to add to their woes if it turned out that they shouldn't have put that online and they're about to withdraw it. I didn't want it to then, to have it on Pinball News still when. Right. But then it turned out everybody already had this out it was all over Pinside and various other websites, and so the cat was out of the bag. It came back to me. No, this is just a distributor launch. The full launch will be in a day or two.
Right.
So, but then I thought I can't just sit here and do nothing with this. So I end up having to do that. And but
you ended up with 2 different articles.
Well, yeah, the unofficial launch, part 1, which was the distributor launch, and then later, when it was meant to be the official launch, I was waiting for the promised assets to arrive, the full, all the pictures and the videos and everything, and basically
we're still waiting.
Not very much turned up. There was a link to a Dropbox file which had a few things on it which I was able to use, but I still haven't seen any sort of really good quality detailed playfield pictures of the game. Right. No, we've seen the game, so we know what it looks like. So it's no surprise to us.
Okay. So getting back to how the game was received, which you were talking about before I interrupted you.
Absolutely. I think people originally were wondering from the tease exactly what the main toy of the game, the Sandworm, what it does, because it only showed one particular aspect of its functionality. As people were speculating or saying, well, is that it? Is that all it does? And a couple of times I told people, no, it does a lot more than that, but I can't tell you exactly what at the moment because we're still under NDA at this point.
Right. Yeah. So for people who haven't seen it yet, just to get an idea, the Sandworm is represented on the playfield by artwork, of course, and some lights that are adding up to each other, sort of creating a path that the worm is taking. But the actual mechanism, like the head of the worm, is, think of the Circus Voltaire ringmaster head coming out of the playfield, and this is then a similar cylinder type of mechanism moving up, but it does a lot more because it has a magnet at the top. It can pull the ball inside. It can release the ball on one of the ramps in the game. There's tunnels underneath, and it really does a lot more. So
yes, and also as it rises up, the whole thing twists as well. It has a twisting action to it, which is very impressive. If you look underneath the playfield, you get the chance to look underneath the playfield as we did, you also realise exactly what a massive mechanical construction this Sandworm device is. It's a big mech under there, and it does a lot of things. And as you say, it feeds subways as well. If it swallows the ball, it can grab the ball with a magnet, just like the ringmaster can. Raise it up, as you say.
But unlike the ringmaster, it also grabs the ball when it's on playfield level. Occasionally, so it can.
Well, the ringmaster does that when you get the wow targets.
Oh right, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but it rather than having a shot underneath it to go into a subway, the actual Sandworm sort of swallows the ball down through the centre of it.
Yeah, think Arabian Nights, that kind of thing. Yeah. Exactly,
which and also has that as you mentioned, the neat trick. It can raise the ball up high enough, release the magnet, so the ball rolls forward onto a wire form.
Right. So, and while the worm itself may not sound very exciting, at least not to me, that mechanism definitely has a wow factor to it.
It does, and it's not the only mechanism in the game. There's also a harvester mechanism in the back left-hand corner, which wasn't working when we got to play it, so we haven't really seen exactly what it's capable of, but it is an animated toy which acts as a ball lock as well.
when we say it wasn't working, it means the code wasn't there yet.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, they hadn't written the code to drive, or at least it wasn't in the version that we saw.
Right. And to get a better perspective of the whole situation, we were able to visit Barrels of Fun before the Texas Pinball Festival, which was the last weekend of March. So that gives you an idea of how long ago we saw the game. And in the meantime, they had a couple of weeks to finish up on code, and well, they're still working on code, I assume, but at least get the code to the point where they figured it would be release ready.
Yes, they told us that they reckoned that within about 2.5 weeks they'd have the code fully functioning.
Right, which I found very ambitious.
Well, me too. Yeah, we were thinking more like 2.5 months to really get it into a fully polished state.
Right,
but they launched it sooner than that. So hopefully it's in a good state when the game starts shipping. It's worth mentioning a few details about the game while we're here. That it's a limited run of 1,000 units. Interestingly, 300 will be sold by Barrels of Fun directly, with 700 going to distributors around the world. Although, if they don't sell all 700, then they reserve the right to sell more than 300 by themselves.
Right.
They are ramping up production over. Well, they said from the next month, so that's over. That was from the launch. So over the next couple of weeks, and they say the company plans to build all 1,000 Dune games by the end of 2025.
Right, and that may sound ambitious as well, but if you've seen the underside of the playfield, there's a lot of PCBs in there that's actually quite easy for assembly of the playfield, I would say. So they save a lot of time on that compared to some other playfields that have a lot more...
or even compared to Labyrinth, I think, which is built in a different way. Yes, it's a lot more streamlined and makes a lot more sense the way they've done it. And no, it's not a unique method they've used. Other companies have done similar things, but it certainly does look quite impressive when you look underneath it to see how they put it all together.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, we mentioned about the price. Recommended retail price of $11,600 which is a bit of a hike from Labyrinth, but Barrels of Fun are very keen to point out all the extra things which come with the game. Mm-hmm. They've been running this hashtag included campaign on their social media in the weeks running up to the actual launch day to show that they include things like the shaker motor, their invisible glass, infinity glass, which is their non-reflective glass, I should say, and also their Horizon atmospheric lighting system, which is which really comes into its own, I'd say, in Dune, because it enables them to do effects like eclipse effects and completely change the colour of the playfield as well. They can flood it with different coloured lights, and it's not something you immediately appreciate, but what we did find when we were playing it is that when you lose the ball and it goes back to white, the whole playfield changes colour, changes atmosphere, I'd say.
Right.
It's only when it goes back to the sort of sand-coloured or the daylight colour that you start to appreciate exactly what an impact it's having on not just the feel of the game, but also on the artwork, and brings the sort of sand sculpts, of which there are quite a lot, really to life, which of course they are with the Sandworm.
Right.
Art package for the game, which we were just talking about, comes from a familiar name, actually, Jonathan Bergeron, I should say, who's otherwise known as Johnny Crap,
right?
Who's done work for Stern in their Jurassic Park game. Mm-hmm. So, as well as plenty of other pinball projects as well, things like show posters and things like that.
Yeah, but this is a completely different style, of course, completely in line with the artwork for Dune, if you're familiar with the franchise.
Yes, it's very, very well integrated into the whole, not just the cabinet art, but also the back glass art, but also the sculpts as well, and the video clips. When we saw it, there wasn't an awful lot of content on the screen at the back of the playfield, but that's been added since. I've seen quite a lot more of that. Can you remember in Labyrinth they have the playfield at the screen at the back of the playfield, and as well as the main LCD. Well, it's the same for Dune. They have both screens there, right. So there's a lot of content to be added. And I think it's really come together very nicely. Right.
So, and I believe to round this up for Barrels of Fun, we already briefly mentioned the infinity glass, which is their interpretation of non-reflective glass. I believe there was a post up on Facebook that they are offering this now as well as separately, so to speak. So if you're interested in ordering sheets of infinity glass, then that's also an option.
And they're not the only ones selling non-reflective glass, but we'll come back to that, or anti-reflective glass, would probably say. Come back to that a little bit later.
I can get your reflective glass.
We should also add that, as they did with Labyrinth, there will be an alternative back glass available at some point, but it hasn't been announced or revealed yet. There will also be a different animated topper. The game comes with a static topper, a multi-layered thing, but there will be more, as again they did with Labyrinth, with the talking heads up there. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with Dune, but I'm sure it'll be impressive.
You mean the band?
Could be. There'll also be a replacement shooter rod, and they also plan to do some molded slingshot covers as a post-purchase add-on. Not things which you can order with the game when you buy it, but you'll be able to retrofit them. So I think that pretty much rounds it up for Barrels of Fun and their brand new Dune game, which I look forward to playing in a more finished state.
Right, yeah, absolutely, and the best of luck to Barrels of Fun. I think it's worth also mentioning that they have, obviously the game is on the line, but they also made sure to have plenty of games available to ship when they announced the game. So you could already see it pop up on various shows, of course. And, your local distributor, as far as they are local, might even have a show game already.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Barrels of Fun, for the invitation to visit the factory. And sorry we couldn't be there for the media day. Right. But it's a long way to fly, and not that cheap.
No, exactly. So, So then there is this little company called Stern Pinball. Have you ever heard of them?
Way back, didn't they do electromechanical games a while?
Yeah. That was in a previous century, I think.
Oh, okay, right, yes. Most things were. Okay, yes, well, we mentioned before about King Kong, and the expected launch of that taking place in April, and of course it did. And the full name of the game was revealed as King Kong Myth of Terror Island.
Yeah, which is interesting because according to the movie, I don't think King Kong was in New York and not on Terror Island.
Well, it's worth stating this has nothing to do with the movie. That's probably why. This is their own reimagining of the King Kong story, the book. The movie is not a public domain product, but King Kong character is. So Stern, it's out of copyright now. So Stern had a free hand to be able to reimagine what would happen, and create their own storyline based around this Terror Island. As we know,
hold on. So one of the things I would like to point out, if you know your pinball history very well, long time ago, before Stern Pinball was Stern Pinball, they were actually operating under the name of Data East Pinball. Well. And as Data East, they did develop a prototype for a game called King Kong.
They did.
With artwork by Kevin O'Connor, which in the past I sold posters of that artwork in the Pinball Magazine web shop, and I might actually consider putting them up again because I still have some left. But interestingly, so there was a complete prototype with a very large flipper on the upper right of the playfield that was supposed to shoot the ball up a side ramp, and that didn't work. And that was one of the reasons that game never went into the production. But they did take some elements from the artwork and on the playfield and reuse that on the new game, the Myth of Terror Island King Kong game. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, I played the Data East game,
So did I.
But I can't remember what the artwork was like. So maybe you should put that up for sale and remind us all.
Right.
So we need to have a look at it. I'm sure it's on.
The area above the flippers is like a big door with King Kong coming through it or something like that. And they reused that sort of image.
Right. Well, it's interesting you should mention artwork by Kevin O'Connor, because this new Keith Elwin design game features an unusual collaboration with 3 different artists working on it. They have Jeremy Packer, aka Zombie Yeti. They also have Stern's previous art director, Greg Freres, working on it, and the aforementioned legendary pinball artist, Kevin O'Connor.
Right.
So it's Kevin's second King Kong game and the first one to go into production. To me, it seemed like they had some odd choices on the way that the artwork was or the cabinet artwork at least, was distributed. Because being a Stern cornerstone game, there's the Pro, Premium, and Limited Edition models. The Pro and the Premium had completely different cabinet artwork to each other. And the Limited Edition had half of the Pro on one side of it and the other half of the Premium. Although it has a metallic reflective finish on the cabinet art as well to give it a little LE gloss. But it seemed I would have thought that the LE would have had would have been the one to get a custom artwork package. But no, that seems
limited to the foil instead of.
Yes, I know, but you could have done the limited edition could have had the premium's artwork package with the foil, and then the premium could have had half Pro, half LE, which is kind of what it is.
Right.
So it would have kind of made sense. But anyway, they did what they did for whatever reason. Each one has a different back glass. It's worth pointing out as well. It was. Let's go to the launch. Launch to me seemed a little, I don't know, a bit lackluster. In a way, it's had a big buzz around the game before it was finally revealed. That Stern did their usual thing of doing a tease where they actually tease the full name of the game, the Myth of Terror Island suffix to it, which doesn't tell you an awful lot until you've seen the game. And I think when it actually came out. Well, Stern normally sort of hands over some of the distribution of assets to an outside company, a media company, who then sends you links to Dropbox or another repository to download all the artwork and the flyers and the close-up pictures of the playfield. Well, this time that didn't seem to happen. At least it didn't happen to me. So I don't think you got anything either from them. So it seems a bit strange, but never mind. We got what we got, and there are lots of pictures on the Stern website, which is where I ended up having to get pictures from. The Ellie, the main model there, or the main toy there, is the King Kong model himself, which I suspect people had hopes which weren't necessarily fulfilled with that. People were saying that they hope that it includes a model of King Kong climbing the Empire State Building or another skyscraper, and when it actually came to it, it didn't have that at all. It's a very static, as in terms of not moving it around. Upper half of a gorilla with arms flailing and motorized in the same kind of way as they are for Hulk in the Avengers game. But rather more control, I think, this time, because he can turn around a bit more. And he also has this ability to block the ball on a wire form by bringing his arm down. Mm-hmm. And a rather nice little feature is that if you do get a replay, he can raise his hand and raise his arm right up and knock the glass as a knocker, which is leader. I thought one of the things which one of the software guys thought we could do that, and they said, "Yeah, let's go with it." So hopefully it doesn't actually damage the model or indeed the glass.
Right. So the gorilla does remind me a little bit of Hulk from the first Avengers game from Stern Pinball from like 20 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very similar. There's also a gong, which is used to summon King Kong, and that sort of hangs in a sort of temple moulding, which looks very nice and has little Easter eggs of the initials of members of the design team across the top of it. If you know who they are, you can spot them there. And it has a giant spider model on the left-hand side hanging over a magnet, which wobbles around when the magnet activates.
Right.
That's all in the limited edition and the premium games. Unfortunately, in the Pro, they've taken away pretty much all of that. It only has a static model of King Kong. There is I mentioned one of the other things he does is in front of him in the limited edition and the Pro and the premium. There's a train car which is used as a ball lock, and so when multi-ball starts, Kong smashes down on one end of it, tips the thing up, and the locked balls all fall onto the playfield. Well, that's not there either in the Pro. There's no giant spider either, and there's no gong as such, and the temple is flat plastic. So, a bit sad, I think, on that. I thought they could have left some of it, and at least have the moving Kong, mm-hmm. which is he is the game after all. But sadly not. But they didn't up their prices either this time for Stern, so the pricing was the same as in previous edition or previous Cornerstone games. So it's like a 7,000 Pro and 13,000 Premium. Limited edition, and I'm trying to remember 9.7 I think is for the premium model. Yeah, I should probably look it up actually, but I think that's what it is, and it's unchanged from previous. There we go. Yes, 7,000 Pro, 13,000 limited, 9.7 for premium. Yes. Okay. Thankfully, there's a certain website that's got all these details on, which I won't. Modesty forbids me mentioning it at this stage.
I bet it was pinballnews.com.
Well, it may have been, yes. Let's move swiftly along then. And as I said, it got a good reception, if not rapturous. I mean, any Keith Elwin title is going to get a huge following, or even before anybody knows what it is. So, and I think it's fair to say that people like the playfield layout and the shots on it, and it's got some interesting features to it. Also quite like the artwork, I think, as well, although I've seen quite a few comments saying that people are getting a little weary of this full color splash all over all recent Stern games.
Well, that's basically Jeremy Packer's trademark.
Yeah, quite. But well, we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's get on to why that may not be the case going forward. But it does make their games stand out very bright and colourfully in an arcade. But you compare them to the game we were just talking about just now, Dune, for instance, which has a much more subdued tones, much more cinematic feel to it, photorealistic, and whereas Kong is not based on a movie. So all the assets for the game have to be created in-house. That's all the animations, all the static graphics, all the playfield artwork, all the characters. There's you can draw Kong the way you want him to be, and as well as the other people in the story. But you're not limited by anything. You have those assets to work with either. So swings and roundabouts. But it certainly does have that line. If you put that game in a lineup of recent Stern games, the colour palette and the wide gamut of colours is very similar to a large number of recent titles. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, right.
So other than that, I don't think I've got anything much else to say about King Kong, Myth of Terror Island, other than I look forward to playing one as soon as possible.
Yeah. I look forward to it playing it too. So, and there's lots more news from Stern Pinball. Now I'm going to do something very unprofessional here, but we do have a topic that there is a rumor going around, but I figure before we start discussing this rumor, maybe it's better to see if we can get a comment from Stern for our next episode on this rumor before we dive into it, and before we basically put it out there.
Then it wouldn't be a rumor.
Well, at least we have done our fact checking, and right now we haven't. So I feel more comfortable in not discussing the rumor now, but see if Stern wants to comment on it first. Okay.
Well, we'll leave that teaser hanging in the air and come back to it.
We got something juicy coming up, yeah?
Yes, okay. Well, let's move on then.
But, so we mentioned already Jeremy Pecker,
yes.
Also known as Zombie Yeti. Just before the reveal of King Kong, it was announced that he has been appointed as studio art director at Stern. Which is a rather surprising move, I would say. Not so much that I doubt Jeremy's capabilities, but it was only last year that Sebastian Napoli was appointed as replacement for Greg Ferreras, who retired at that point. So the first thing I did was, when I received a press release from Stern about this new position for Jeremy Pecker, was asked, okay, so what about Sebastian Napoli? And I got a response from Zach Sharp saying that Sebastian left Stern a few months ago to pursue other opportunities, but still works with Stern in a contracting capacity.
Yes, I contacted Zach and got exactly the same response as well. So there we are, we have confirmation. Two independent sources. Oh no, it's the same source. That's right.
Same source.
Yes.
Two different. Yeah, right. Okay. So two different reporters. Still okay. The interesting thing is, well, Jeremy came in after doing artwork for John Popidoux at his Itware company. Was noticed by Stern, picked up by Stern, worked as for a while as a freelance artist. Then was hired at Stern as an in-house artist and is now basically running the art department.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I have no idea how his role was with King Kong. And I'm curious to see what it will be like with upcoming games.
Yes, quite. It's just what I was saying when you were saying about how all recent titles have had the Zombie Yeti feel to them. Will he actually be working on directly on the titles, or will he be in the art director position and contracting other people and directing their art.
Right.
So maybe we're getting some more variety in future titles. But I think it's a great hire for Stern. Congratulations to Jeremy.
Right.
Yes, I was very surprised too when it turned out Sebastian had left, seeing as he had worked under Greg and been tutored by him with the definite intention of becoming the art director at Stern. And then and a couple of months later, he isn't. So that seems a little odd. But I wonder what other projects or what led that to transpire. But saying that, to me, saying that we'll continue to work with Stern in the contracting capacity, to me that means that he will help out with when they are overstretched and need additional effort to on a particular project.
Right, but he's not an artist, so it's not that he can help. I mean, he was art director, so
he was an artist as well.
Not on games, at least not that we know of.
Oh no! Well, I don't think he'd done any himself, but that doesn't mean he isn't capable.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, from Sebastian changing his career path, so to speak, to pursue other opportunities.
Yes.
I recently found out that senior programmer Tim Sexton has left Stern Pinball as well. And he started working, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of April at Play Mechanics, which is a Raw Thrills company, of course, and, not strange to pinball with...
not now.
Not now, indeed, but mostly video games. So I suppose good news for Tim, for landing a job at Play Mechanics. Probably not so good for Stern, as they are now probably in need of a new programmer to help out. And programmers often undervalued because in the end, a playfield without code, that's only so much fun. You need the code to make it actually do what it's supposed to be doing. So I wonder how that's going to pan out. And looking at my notes, I noticed you mentioned how that's going to look for John Wick game owners.
Yeah, it's not a good sign if you happen to own or like the John Wick game, which Tim was the lead on for software. That code was his baby, and he drove the direction in which it was going. And people have been complaining for quite a long time that it sorely needs improving and adding features to, which would have been work that Tim would do, but he's not there and
anymore.
Yes, so. Has he left behind some code which is going to be released later? He's not the only one working on it. He was part of a team, but heads up the team that builds the code or writes the code for that. There's a suggestion I've seen that Wei Sun Cheng is going to take over the team and the projects that Tim was responsible for. So whether that mean that John Wick John Wick software, I should say, will go in a slightly different direction, or whether it will be driven forward and be completed sooner. We don't know. But fingers crossed that John Wick game owners will get the code that they need to complete their game. We mentioned about Tim going to Play Mechanics. Of course, Mark Ritchie works, and of course Mark Ritchie is responsible for the recent Pulp Fiction game, and there's a suggestion that Play Mechanics are working with, will be working again to produce another pinball machine before too much longer. Certainly Mark, I think, would be keen to get the design of his. produced. Whether it will be with Chicago Gaming or not is more questionable, I think. But I think they've been frustrated by delays in getting at Chicago Gaming in getting the game produced. Well, we'll wait and see. But interesting that those Tim and Mark Ritchie, both big pinball people, are together again.
And even more interesting, even more interesting, if Tim would be working with Mark Ritchie on a new pinball machine, I believe Tim worked also with Steve Ritchie, Mark's older brother.
He did.
So then he would have worked with both Ritchies, which not many people can say.
No. I was going to wonder exactly how many people could say that, but on software, probably not that many.
No, but that's a big if. So.
Well, yeah. So let's not, as we're not doing rumours, we won't start any of our.
This one.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, if we are on rumours, then it might be worth mentioning that with Tim leaving and the rumour that Wason has taken over, there's also rumours about Stern taking action on the flood of games that seem to be coming out at the moment, from not just from them but from other companies, and the potential, it's not potential, the actual shrinking of the pinball market at the moment, which I've heard rumours. I don't know whether they're true. So it's
only a rumour, and we'll look for verification on it, and we'll get back to it. But okay, spill the beans. Go ahead.
Well, rumour is that Stern might be cutting back on their production. So they may not actually be producing games 5 days a week, and might bring that down to 4.
Right. Makes total sense to move to a bigger facility just to cut down production.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm sure when they moved, they were not aware of what would be going on economically in both the US and the international economies. And I bet they never foresaw the tariff situation that we would.
Well, not only that,
discussing.
I think. Okay, so my take on this, since I brought this up, I think Stern was expecting the increase of the market during COVID to sustain. And I don't think that's the case at the moment.
It's an increase in demand and in pricing.
Well, yeah, but so during COVID, there was apparently a lot of demand for people who were not able to play on location because they couldn't leave the house or whatever. So they got a game for the house, and which caused the pinball market to see a huge resurgence, if it wasn't already there, but at least a lot of more sold games. Quite a few distributors actually not completely selling out of at least certain titles. And the situation now is that a lot of distributors basically have overstock.
Yes, but also with that big demand, brought in a big increase in pricing as well, certainly in the second-hand market. So that's now come down a long way. So we're not seeing the kind of prices on used games that we once were. So people have become a little more cautious, shall we say, about buying new games if they think they'll be losing a significant amount when they come to resell it or move it on and get the next newest title. So yes, the market has definitely cooled a lot, and that's is impacting on new game sales as well, and will continue to do so. And also, we've seen this particular month, in fact, a couple of titles launched almost simultaneously, and as I said before, there's also another big title about to be launched. A lot of people are kind of biding their time and waiting to see exactly what goes on with Harry Potter and whether that's where they should be spending their money, or whether they'd be better off buying one of the more recently announced titles.
Right, and not to mention, not to forget the games that were revealed in March at the Texas Pinball Festival show. I mean, Merlin's Arcade was announced, Portal was announced and revealed, and so basically there's 5 games announced that are likely to be revealed within a 2-month window.
Yeah, it's a crazy time if you're
well, we have seen crazier, but that was just that was last year.
That was last year at Texas. Yes.
Yeah. So 7 new games, I believe, at one show.
Yep. Anyway,
you found some interesting notes on code updates.
Yes, well, one of the things I did spot in the most recent launch of King Kong is that they have finally got rid of the simulated dot matrix display that they've been using for their test and menu settings. And it's always irked me that they never did that. I mean, it's been 8 years since, more than 8 years since they brought in the first LCD, which was with Batman 66 in December 2016. And up until the last game, until Dungeons and Dragons, they were still using a dot matrix settings and menu and test menus, and which seemed ridiculous when you've got a beautiful LCD you can use for exactly that, and which every other company does.
Well, they needed those programming resources elsewhere, I suppose.
Well, I mean, you think that would be part of the underlying operating system that they keep updating, but anyway. That's exactly what they've done. Finally at last.
The rock has come down. Oh no, sorry, different show.
Yes. With King Kong, Myth of Terror Island, there is a proper graphical test and settings menu, which actually is a proper one. They've really done it very nicely. They've got all sorts of graphics in there. They got the ball trough, for instance. If you're testing that, it shows you the ball trough where the ball is being sensed, where the balls are being stored. If you go to the switch tests, it's got a proper layout of the playfield showing you where every switch is. JJP have been doing this stuff for ages as well, so it's not groundbreaking. But also they do a thing like a history of the last 20 switches that were triggered, so you can see if something is triggering repeatedly, for instance, and also the ability to test a switch like a slingshot or a pop bumper or something without the coil that's associated with it firing. So if you're pressing the rubber on the slingshot, it's not going to keep kicking back at you when you're trying to test the switch. So that's it's been a long time coming, as I said. But it's here at last, so that was great news. So yeah, that's in King Kong. There's new. Hopefully, it'll get rolled out to other games, but
very likely
it requires a bit of customization for every game. Of course, they've all got the switches in their different places and the lamps and coils as well with their own names. So they have to go through and do quite a lot of work to make that applicable to each title. But
right. Now, speaking of this improvement, is King Kong, on which this new test settings menu debuted, is that already Spike 3?
No, it's not. It's Spike 2. Still Spike 2.
Okay.
But it might be a preview of what Spike 3 is going to look like when it does come.
Right, okay. So Spike 3 being the operating system that Stern is using to run their pinball machines on.
Yeah, and hardware system.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, thank you for correcting.
That's all right. Still Spike 2. We haven't seen anything exactly what's available in Spike 3 yet.
Okay, so can we get to the new code, please?
Yeah, only 2 this month. Venom.
Thank God.
Yeah, Venom's added a new symbiote Mania Wizard mode.
Oh, thank God.
I know you're waiting for it.
I couldn't sleep without it.
Yeah, I say, finally. We should say it as well. Unfortunately, it's one of those silly things that's only available with either if you've got the topper installed on the game, so it's a topper exclusive mode, or if you have played if you have played a topper game within 3 months and are playing on a non-topper game, then you can still access it. I know. Also a couple of display effects.
Have you got any idea how much those toppers cost with all these tariffs being applied?
Well, not yet, no. I look forward to seeing. Well, you think they're ready to afford that, don't you? But who knows where the parts come from? And Dungeons and Dragons, the previous title, I was going to say, until Kingdom came out, the current title, that's version 0.89, came out on the 2nd of April. Really quite a big update with far too many changes to the list here. Jonathan will be disappointed, but we won't go through them all. But they have added new artifacts and equipment items to collect during gameplay to add your extra capabilities. And they've added the DJ mixer thing, so you can play the game tunes, and overhauled the game's mode menu, the thing you get when you press the flip button and hold it and choose which mode you want to play in. That's been overhauled as well. But that's enough new code from Stern Pinball, and I think it wraps up Stern Pinball news for this month of April.
Okay. Finally.
Finally.
So, heading over to that other pinball company, Jersey Jack Pinball, also located in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. Mm-hmm. We're basically waiting for Harry Potter to be revealed, but we haven't seen anything yet, other than that distributors have been told they can promote Harry Potter as the next game from Jersey Jack.
Yes, so, I think they were allowed to take pre-orders deposits on games. I think that's correct. But no, to say, nothing has actually been revealed of what's going to be in the game, even though the game is on the line, apparently, and being produced.
Right, yeah, and that has to do with probably adding bits and pieces together. Jack Guarnieri did attend a seminar at the Fantastic New English Show, mm-hmm. Where he basically said distributors will have show models when the game will be announced. So that means they have to manufacture and ship games up front so that distributors will have these show models present when they announce the game. And just hope that nobody's going for their own glory and here are the first pictures. Mm. Right, yes. But I'm sure they have everything under control with that, and big sanctions if someone leaks something. So we do know design of the game is by Eric Meunier. Software is by Joe Cads. Well, probably not alone, but he's head of the software team.
Yep.
Sounds by David Thiel.
Yep.
Who's basically back with Jersey Jack.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Good news there.
Yeah. So the game is scheduled to be at the European Pinball Championship in Austria, which is at the end of May, along with Jack. I'm not sure whether they will be able to make that, but they might.
Certainly hope so. Been promoting it on social media that Jack will be there with the game. It'll be disappointing if that doesn't happen, but
well, you never know where delays occur.
No, absolutely.
And this is a reveal that I can imagine JJP wants to basically it has to be perfect.
Yeah, they wanted to do it right. Yep, absolutely. And as you say, delays can occur with the licensor, for instance, might not be prepared, not be geared up for a launch on a particular day. It might not fit in with their other scheduled promotional Harry Potter events. Might want to start it in the middle of June or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So if that's what the license is, and that's what you have to go with.
Right. So, and in the meantime, while Jersey Jack is building Harry Potter for show models and so on, they are finishing production of Avatar.
Oh, okay.
Just so you know, but that doesn't mean it's game over for Avatar, because they might take the game back into production at some point if demand is there, I suppose.
Yeah, as long as they've still got the license for it. So yeah, I'm sure.
Well, it's a very recent title. So.
It is, yes. Yeah, I'm sure they'll be building it for on and off for the next few years. Indeed. I mentioned about Jack going to the European Championship in Austria at the end of May, heavily organised by our good friend Stefan Riedler of RS Pinball, and I'll be there to cover that. I think you were invited, but I think you have other commitments, or at least had other commitments.
Well, that's the thing. If you earn your money in the weekends, and all these pinball shows take place in the weekends, you have to make choices.
I know. It's a tough world out there. You have to do what you have to do.
If something clears up, I might still show up, but don't hold your breath.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jack himself will also be in Europe, in the UK, in the middle of June at the Pinball Heaven Open Day, which is taking place on the 21st of June at the Pinball Heaven HQ near Preston in Lancashire. Jack is scheduled to be there along with the Harry Potter game. So,
okay.
Hope that's certainly more concrete. I'd say that by the 21st of June, the game will have been released. But hopefully, it'll be there for the European Championships at the end of May as well. So,
so maybe we should go there as well and record a new episode of Dinner with Jack Ranieri.
Oh, because that went down so well the first time. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Talking about dinner.
Right. It's time for What's Cooking with Steve Ritchie.
Yes, we got to sit down with Steve and Bill Grupp as well, and Steve, which you will have heard in our previous PINcast. But at the same time, we also got to talk to Steve about his favourite recipes.
Right.
So,
What's Cooking with Steve Ritchie. Wow, I make a few dishes. Mostly seafood and steaks, which is, I'm not great at putting things together sometimes, but I don't know. I have a king crab recipe. It's real simple. You put a pot of water on, not too much in the bottom of a big pot because the king crab legs are big. And you break them apart, and I cut them with scissors so it's easier to break the shell open. Right. And there's a way to do it where the meat doesn't come out, like cut this side like that and this one, and then you can get close with those two. Anyway, it makes it much easier to eat. You put them in the pot after you've got steam and never down in the water. So talking about steaming only, that's what king crab likes. And so you steam it for 11 to 12 minutes, something like that.
Okay, not wrong.
And it's very delicious. We serve it with drawn butter. It's like, now it's ridiculously expensive, but we still do it a couple times a year. I also have, I like to make shrimp and scallops. I saute them in olive oil, butter, minced garlic, which bigger chunks of garlic. It makes it very interesting. Salt and pepper, and occasionally I'll add some Cajun spice. My favorite one is Paul Prudhomme's, blackened redfish. That's a great flavor. And but I don't do that often. Most of the time I just cook them, with salt, pepper, garlic, olive oil.
And you serve them with?
I serve them with, there's a lot of things. Sometimes I make, you got to boil potatoes and then cut them up, and again, garlic, salt, pepper. I like those ingredients, and then and butter, and you soak them in all this stuff, and then you place them on a flat pan and put them in the oven for 25 minutes or so, and they're delicious and tender and awesome, and people like them. For vegetables, I like to make salads. I haven't in a while, though, because it's so easy to just buy a salad bag, and throw it together. But occasionally I'll, get a head of lettuce and cut up a tomato and green onions, and I like things in a salad like artichoke hearts and marinated. That's the best ones. Otherwise, they have no flavor. And sometimes olives, depending on, what's in there. I don't ever use nuts or fruit. I'm just not, And I do that with wine vinegar and olive oil only. I mean, there's salt and pepper and oregano and things like that. Some Italian spices often. But it makes a nice salad. And a lot less calories than buying, salad dressings that are just loaded with oil and fat and stuff like that. If you're going to eat some fat, eat olive oil. It's the best for you. And that's about it.
And there you have it.
Very much, Steve. Yes. Well, who'd have thought? Thank you,
I
Steve.
didn't know that Steve was so much into, linguine and that kind of food.
Yeah.
But, kudos to Steve.
Yeah, we look forward to tasting some of that at some point in the future.
Well,
so thank you for Steve for sharing that with us, and thank you for Steve and Bill for sitting down with us at Texas Pinball Festival and talking about the Elton John game as well.
Right, and hopefully we'll bring you a new episode of What's Cooking With in our next episode.
Oh, well, can't make any promises, but let's see what we can cook up.
Right. Very clever.
Yes.
So
then,
okay. So for most of the next companies that we'll be discussing, it's rather short, if any news.
Yes.
So if you're wondering how long is this going on, then the good news is we're almost there.
Yeah, we're on the home stretch. Okay,
right. So Dutch Pinball Dutch Pinball /DPX, Dutch Pinball exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is currently shipping, and the Dutch Pinball Museum is the first public location where you actually can play Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I think they got the second
002. I think.
Yeah, second game of the line went to the museum, and it's already there for you to enjoy. So, if you happen to come to the Netherlands, Rotterdam is the place to be if you want to play Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Yes, absolutely. And on the subject of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, we were talking earlier about the impact of tariffs on pinball pricing. Well, it's a bit of a movable feast, going back to the cooking analogy at the moment, in that no one quite knows exactly what tariffs into the US are likely to be, because they keep changing. But for those buyers based in the United States, the buyers of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, they were at one point likely to be subjected to an import tariff of 20% from products in the European Union, which included pinball machines,
right,
from the Netherlands. So what to do about that? Well, Dutch Pinball said basically, well, this is a problem in the US. It's not a problem anywhere else. It's not a problem in the cost of building the game in the Netherlands or selling it to any other country. But when it goes into the United States, the proposal at the time was to put an extra 20% import tariff on it, and basically somebody's got to pay that, and it's paid on entry to the US by their US distributor CoinTaker, and they would need to pass that on to the buyer.
Right.
And they can't afford to lose 20% of the cost of the machine.
No, there's no margin left.
Exactly, yeah. Or possibly takes them into negative margin. So Dutch Pinball said, look, okay, we don't really know what's going on at the moment. We are proposing holding back games that are intended to be or are destined for the United States in the hope that the tariff situation will settle down and tariffs can either be cut drastically or removed altogether. However, if you do want your game in the position which you originally were in line, you can pay the extra 20% and get it when you would have got it anyway. So basically, it's up to the buyer to make their choice. What they were not saying, and mainly because it's not their decision, was that you could get your non-refundable deposit back due to the change in price. And that irked a number of people, saying, hang on, you changed the price of the game. We should be able to get our deposit back. That wasn't what we signed up for. Dutch are saying, well, we haven't changed the price of the game. That's not for us. And for everybody else in the world, the price is exactly the same. It's only gone up because your government has decided to add this extra tariff onto it. So it's, not our problem.
Right. Well, there might be a third angle to that, in the sense that with pricing of parts going up as well, it might still affect the pricing of the game, as parts have to come from China. And some parts come from the US as well.
Well, parts come from China, they go straight to the Netherlands, and the price doesn't go up. So that's fine. It's if they go through the US, and if they're buying Flipper mechs from, I don't know, so Pinball Life, say, and Pinball Life are getting them from China, then the price will go up. Or if the European Union decides to impose tariffs on US products in retaliation, that could push the price up to Dutch as well. But at the moment, neither of those things have happened, and at the moment there is a kind of moratorium for the next couple of weeks, where higher tariffs imposed by the US aren't being imposed. They're stuck at 10%, which I don't know what the situation there is. Whether I think Dutch are sticking with their original proposal to hold back US deliveries.
Yeah, and focus the production on games that are destined for Europe, Netherlands, and Europe.
And Australia, and basically, and Canada, of course, as well.
Right.
It's just non-US games, but it's a very changeable situation and very volatile, and the situation can change at any time. So,
well, especially with this president.
Well, I don't want to get political about it, but
no, neither do I. But based on the facts, it depends whether. I don't know whether the sun shines or whether it's raining or what his mood is.
Yes, well, it's very difficult for any company to make any firm decisions or statements one way or the other at the moment. So everyone's just sort of biding their time, waiting to see how it all settles down, and hopefully it'll be resolved in a sensible way. But that's what Dutch Pinball have said at the moment. So that's we'll keep you updated as and when that changes.
Right.
That's what I'm sure it will.
Right. Now, since we're on the subject of tariffs, Daniel Jensen, who is the CEO of Pinball Brothers, who we know of, the Alien game and ABBA and Queen, of course. He was quoted in a Swedish newspaper about the tariff situation, where he basically complained that they were hit like double as hard as some other industries, because they're looking at tariffs for importing games into the US, but they're also facing tariffs for importing parts from the US. And parts from China that go through the US. Ah,
right, yes. That's just what we were saying, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, we don't need to repeat the whole story, but in short, as a result, he said they are likely to reduce production at their Italian facility, which they are running together with Pedretti Pinball, the Euro Pinball Corp. So there might be less games produced by Pedretti, at least for the US market. But the US market is the biggest market for Pinball Brothers at the moment. So they're looking to see if they can sell more games in Europe to keep the production going at the regular speed, I would say. And that's not the only news, but I thought let's tie it in with the Dutch pinball situation.
Yeah, because it is tariff based. I wonder whether that's in any way related to other Pinball Brothers news, which is that they have announced the end of the the Alien Ripley's Collector's Edition.
I'd suggest you take a sip of wine or something liquid.
Yes, unfortunately, I haven't actually got any left at the moment, but never mind. Yes, so they say that after...
You already finished that whole bottle.
Well, you know, it's been a tough PINcast. Let's say, after a successful run, they said, the collector's edition of our award-winning Alien Pinball, the Ellen Ripley version, is reaching its final chapter. Only 9 units remain. Oh, that's nice.
To be built. That's not in stock yet. They still have to be built.
Okay, so I wonder why that's it. Why 9 units? Are they limited on the number they're going to make? I guess so.
Or the parts they have in stock, I don't know.
Yes, it could be. Yep, good point. It says after that, that's it. No reruns, no second chances. If you've been thinking about it, now is the moment to secure your Alien Ripley pinball before it disappears forever.
Right.
I hope it doesn't disappear, but yeah. Well, they stopped making them.
Right, but to me that sounds like they will not be making the Ellen Ripley version, but that doesn't mean that they won't be building any Alien machines anymore.
No, absolutely not. No, I'm sure they can still make the limited version as well of the game and the standard.
Right. Okay. But then again, everybody wanted the Ellen Ripley version, so
yeah,
you might as well jump on the situation or jump on a chance while you can.
Well, there's only 9 left. Probably all gone by now. Yes. Yes, quite.
Right. So, excellent news. There's new code for ABBA.
Yes, 1.4.5. It came out on the 21st of April this year, and only some minor changes, but they did improve the synchronization of the sound and the video for the music clips, and added a game mode menu and a few other general improvements and bug fixes. But apparently reports suggest that the sound sync is greatly enhanced, but maybe not completely in sync at the moment. So maybe a little more work to go on that. But certainly a nice improvement in the game, and nice to see ABBA getting a little more love before they launch into their next title, which must be revealed fairly soon.
Well, that's what we expect, but then again, with the current tariff situation, they might choose to delay.
Yes,
and also tying in tying in with the Pinball Brothers situation, we of course have Pedretti Gaming. Interestingly, Pedretti Gaming have announced that they will be absorbing the extra costs of tariffs on the games that they are shipping out, which is a different situation than what I understand from Pinball Brothers. But this applies to a game like Funhouse Remake, which is a Pedretti title, although manufactured by Euro Pinball Corp.
Yes.
So different companies, different policies.
In association with a pinball company.
Yes. So and that's all the news I got from Pedretti. But so just to get your head around, like, okay, everybody's dealing with the situation and nobody knows what is coming.
No, interesting times at the moment.
Yeah. And we did look forward to a new Pinball Brothers title, but that also goes in collaboration with Pedretti / Euro Pinball Corp. And if they are taming down production, that also could affect upcoming titles.
Yes, we are kind of expecting a new title from Pedretti, a new remake title anytime soon. But if the market's a bit depressed at the moment, maybe that will be a little further off than we're expecting.
Right. So, and it could also be that the market is waiting what Harry Potter is going to do. So
yes, that's right. Yeah, it's a good point. That is the monster title that could change the fortunes of other companies, or indeed JJP as well. Anyway, we talk about titles which haven't been announced. So let's move on to a couple of companies where we spoke about earlier, who have just recently launched new titles. Firstly, Multimorphic. They recently launched their Portal game, which seems to be getting a lot of traction, a lot of attention, and very positive feedback as well at the moment. And people are clamoring to play it. So after a lot of requests from people who signed up to go to the Golden State Pinball Festival in Lodi in California, Multimorphic have agreed to show Portal at that game as well. So they will be taking Portal to the Golden State Pinball Festival. After all, they weren't intending to be there originally, but they've had their mind changed by request. So.
Right, and I understand the game is also going to be at the Allentown show this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there's a chance.
Yeah. Now we mentioned in the past the new anti-reflective glass that Multimorphic produced, called the Pin Glass Plus. That was originally a special launch pricing, and only available for pickup from Multimorphic facility in Round Rock in Texas.
$150 a sheet.
Yeah, unfortunately, that launch pricing has now finished. But the good news is that it's actually available to order through their website, their pinglass.net website, where you can ship it anywhere in the US, I believe. I didn't try putting in a postal code for Canada, so it might be available for there as well. But certainly in the US, you can get it shipped. And also still available for a pickup as well from Multimorphic, but unfortunately, as the launch discount pricing has now ended. But still pretty good value, and from what we've seen, looks very impressive as well.
I couldn't see it.
Yeah. They saw straight through you, didn't they? Yeah. So. As we mentioned before, with Barrels of Fun, other companies now coming out with anti-reflective glass. So you have quite a wide choice of different types to do. I mean, I guess it'd be nice to see a comparison of all the different ones. I did one a while ago when there were only 3, but now there's a lot more.
So, 5 at least.
Yeah, well, I think even more than that. But
yeah, okay. So anyway. So then that other company that also launched a new game, Turner Pinball.
Yep.
Little bit of news from them. Speaking of pinball shows, Merlin's Arcade will be at the Pinball Star booth at Allentown. But it will be demo units only. They are not going to be sold. So usually Pinball Star is offering a show discount on a game that you can pick up after the show, but that's not the case with Merlin's Arcade. You can order the game at the show, of course, but you won't be able to take it home immediately. And in the meantime, at the Turner Pinball headquarters, if you want to call it that, they reported that 75% of the Ninja Eclipse production has been passed. So that means, it's a production of only 100 units. So how many do you think they made?
How many is that? 75% of 100.
So less than 25 remain, as this news is probably a couple of days old already. So, but good for Turner Pinball to move along the production of Ninja clips, and which means they can start building Merlin's arcade all the sooner.
Yes, absolutely. I think I'm sure people are clamoring to get their hands on the game. Actually, it seemed like a lot of fun, didn't it, when we played it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Highly recommend it. If you get the chance to play it, play it.
Okay. Well, one company which hasn't announced their next title, although we keep waiting for them to do so, is American Pinball. Still no news on their upcoming release. Rumored
to be Cuphead.
Yes, I'll leave you to say that. I've seen it said somewhere that they're going to be releasing it sometime in the summer, so I suspect that means that they are waiting for Harry Potter to go through, to be launched, and the ripples to subside a little.
Summer of what year?
Well, there is a good question about that. Yeah, have to release the game at some point, I suppose, or decide they're not going to. One or the other, but that would be a big waste and a big shame. In the meantime, however, we're not in the summer yet. We're still in the spring, and American Pinball is running a spring refresh sale, which means offering 25% off the sales of parts and American Pinball merchandise or swag. If you go to the American Pinball website, you can use the code SPRING, and that will apply the 25% saving. This is only valid, though, until the 4th of May. So basically, if you're listening to this the moment it comes out, you've got until tomorrow to do it, or the day after, probably the day after, to do it. So don't hang around if you want to get your 25% off American Pinball parts and merchandise.
So if you're smart, you order a pinball cabinet and a spare playfield at 25% discount, and then you put them together yourself, and you get a game with a 25% discount. It's probably not an option in the web shop, but
no, I'm sure it's not. But there are some actual very, very good prices available if you are looking to buy American Pinball games. As an aside, this isn't part of the news, but I have noticed that there are some very good deals available. Well, we saw this indeed at Texas, but the Galactic Tank Force, for instance, the Signature Edition, which I think it came out to about $15,000. I believe you can buy it new in box for $8.5 now. And things like Legends of Valhalla, the classic edition of that's $5.5. You can get even the Galactic Tank Force Classic is just under $8. Although curiously, the Barry-O's games seem to be quite expensive still at the top end of prices with a limited edition $8.5.
Well, maybe the margin on that game wasn't that much.
Hard to imagine. There's not a huge amount on it, but we'll see. But anyways, you can get a nice Hot Wheels Classic for a 7.4, which seems like a good deal, or the deluxe version for 7.6. So there's some nice prices out there, and Houdini for the same price as well.
Right. Okay. So then moving on to a company that's hoping to start building their very first pinball machine. Wonderland Amusements. This is they announced this Alice Goes to Wonderland game a couple of months ago. Which is a game at 80% of the size of a traditional arcade-sized pinball machine. They run a Kickstarter for it, which we discussed in a previous episode as well, because it got funded very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And still people have no clue what they're actually buying, in the sense that we haven't seen any gameplay or, let's put it like this. Early April, an update video was posted on YouTube and social media, where they were able to show the very first display animations in that video and talk you through them, which is nice. Much to my surprise, they called it a DMD animations, but it's an LCD, so I have no idea why they call it a DMD. Because as far as I know, there's no DMD in that game. So, obviously, with the game being a huge success on Kickstarter, selling out, not even selling out, but getting funded like 5 times over the original goal, questions were raised. What about tariffs? And in a reply on a question asked about that on Facebook, Wonderland Amusement responded, tariffs will be paid by Wonderland upon importation. Kickstarter backer prices and pledges will be honored as is. So, once again, every pinball company is making their own choices regarding the tariffs. And in this case, the question is very legit, as the game is supposed to be manufactured in China.
Exactly. So, I mean, when it comes in, it'll be currently subjected to an 140% plus tariff, which would effectively more than halve the. It would more than double the price to Wonderland Amusements, which they would then have to swallow the difference when they're selling it on to their backers. So that's a major hit for them to take. I can't imagine saying that for the prices they're selling it at, they're making a huge amount of profit on each game.
No, especially not if those tariffs keep in place.
No, if the tariffs are in place, then they might actually end up losing money on it. So I'm sure they are hoping that some kind of agreement will be reached.
Well, with China, it's even more difficult. So I have no idea whether there's any ways to either have the game shipped to Mexico or Canada and then find some sort of, I don't know, shady detour, and all of a sudden they end up in America without any customs notified. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the country of origin has to be declared, but exactly how that is calculated. If it's made in multiple countries, it gets shipped to another friendlier country, or US considered friendlier country with a lower tariff, where the manufacturing is completed. It's 99% complete in China, and then comes in and gets the playfield glass or plastic slid on in another country. Is that where it's actually finished? Manufacturing is finished.
Right. Well, you just gave a couple of pinball manufacturers a great idea.
I'm sure they've considered all the options, and I'm sure the U.S. Customs Department have considered them as well. And
they're not looking at pinball machines. I mean, come on. So anyway, spooky pinball then.
Yeah.
Rather successful with Evil Dead, a very popular game. It sold out at the Texas show, as we reported last month.
Yeah, they're on a roll with that game, I think.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because it's a very fun game to play. Much to my own surprise, I have to say, because I'm not into horror at all.
No, nor me, and no interest in the movie. Know nothing about the movie, but it doesn't matter, I don't think, that much. I'm sure it helps if you do. Know the story and the characters in it, but even if you don't, it does that really difficult thing in pinball, is to sell the storyline to somebody who doesn't know anything about the story.
Right. Yeah. So in the meantime, Spooky is still selling Scooby-Doo, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Looney Tunes, if I'm not mistaken, which are available for immediate delivery.
Yeah, they've also laid out a rough sort of timeline of software updates they're going to be bringing out for their previous titles as well. So they are supporting those games and bringing out updates for I think all the ones we mentioned just now, Scooby-Doo, Texas, and Looney Tunes, over the next few months. But what we do have is new code for Evil Dead, that is a current title, as we just mentioned. The newest version came out on the 10th of April. Adds lots of new features, adjusted quite a few in terms of how they work and what they score, and added the new multi-phase Henrietta multi-ball into the gameplay. So if you got an Evil Dead, your game just got a whole bunch. Well, not just, but at the beginning of last month, got a very nice update. So we look forward to seeing a lot more coming for all Evil Dead and other spooky titles over the next few months.
Right. Okay. So then let's take our show to France.
Ooh, road show.
Well, Hexa Pinball from the Bordeaux region in France. They had a visit from Pinball Expo chairman Rob Burke. And it's interesting to know that Rob was the first in the US to buy a Space Hunt game from Hexa Pinball, and he also showcased it at the last edition of Pinball Expo, where I think it was in the Pin Sound stand, where Pin Sound actually also provided the speakers and the audio system for the game.
Yes, that's right. Yes, there was an interesting Facebook post actually from Hexa about their collaboration with Pin Sound. Which wasn't entirely clear exactly what the collaboration was. It seemed to be that they are using their speaker system and soundboard in Hexa, but I thought they'd always been doing that. But this was a recent Facebook video, sort of including the fact that Romain Fontaine, who worked for Hexa, well, was part of the Hexa Pinball team, was also part of the Pin Sound team. So that was the tie-in between them. But I couldn't see there was actually any news there other than the fact that they do work together.
Right. Yeah, and I think they were unpacking a game which was destined for the Pin Sound brothers.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's going to the Pin Sound place. Yeah, that's right, into their lineup of games. Right. Yeah, and toasts all round when they unpacked it and played the first game. So, anyway, I mentioned about being on the road and travelling, and another company which we've mentioned before, who changed their name a while back to Ramps, is Ramps Pinball, based in the US, and they have their road trip game coming up soon, but it seems to have gone a bit quiet on that front. We mentioned last month that they didn't appear at the Texas Pinball Festival as we were expecting them to. They were at the Pinball at the Beach show where they first showed Road Trip, and
which was in February, by the way.
It was, and it was well received there. I think got good reports from it. But their website, Ramps Pinball, says coming soon for Road Trip. It says approximate launch mid-April 2025.
Well, that happened. Well, or that passed, and it didn't happen.
That's approximate, though. So,
so is the month approximate or the year?
That's true. Yes. Well, hopefully that it'll be coming soon, but it's
maybe they're still waiting for Harry Potter.
They probably are waiting for Harry Potter. You don't want to be in the shade of that launch, and might also be waiting to see what's happening with tariffs. You never know. It might be getting some parts in from overseas. So anyway, look forward to seeing that game when it comes out, and hopefully it won't be too much longer before that happens.
Right. Okay. Now, welcome to the No News section.
Oh, my favourite.
Yeah, because this one is really quick. There is no news from the following companies. Home Pin in Taiwan.
Chicago Gaming in Cicero in the US.
Right. Vector Pinball in Australia.
Haggis Pinball, defunct, RIP in Australia.
Right. Bitronic in Spain.
Pinball Adventures in Canada, Vancouver.
Cardona Pinball in the US.
STR Pinball in Spain.
Quetzal Pinball in Spain, although they are working on a new title, I know that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, just trying to get it manufactured by someone. And,
right. And last but not least...
Well, I could say Circus Maximus as well, although that's probably defunct as well. But they were working originally, set up to build Python's Pinball Circus. But it was interesting that a home-built Pinball Circus was exhibited at the Pintastic show, Pintastic New England show. Built entirely from scratch, rather than using one of the original Pinball Circus games. There's no plans to build any more. It's just a one-off, and there was apparently a deal done with Planetary Pinball, who are the rights owners to the Williams Bally, sub-licensors, I would say licensees of that, who own the title, Pinball Circus, in relation to pinball games. And so a deal was done with them to allow it to be shown at the show. But just goes to show it can be done. It wasn't finished.
I was going to say, based on the photos I saw, you couldn't get very far.
No, I don't think it had Pinbo, the elephant, in it.
Which is level 2.
Yes, that's exactly, yeah. So there's some way to go, but it's being worked on, and it was good to see that somebody's having a go, and then people will be able to play it, because the one at the Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas seems to be permanently broken, denying anybody the chance to play it.
Mm-hmm. And then there's some other news.
Other news, yes. Well, let's just go back to that old, remember them, Deep Root? Name ring a bell anywhere? There's a case brought by the SEC against Deep Root head Robert Mueller. That has been postponed for another 90 days while the criminal case against him for the same or similar charges progresses. The latest 90-day stay was filed on the 5th of April, so can expect no more news there for a couple of months. And basically, they just keep kicking it down the road until the criminal case reaches a conclusion. Then they might pick it up again. So the next application for postponement is due on the 3rd of July. Otherwise, the trial to determine penalties is due to, if it's not postponed any further, the trial to determine the penalties is due to start on the 11th of August. So don't hold your breath for that one. I don't expect that to happen. And finally, it looks like there's another reseller of Deep Root Investments, a chap called Mark Zabinski. He's reached a settlement to pay back some of the commission that he earned to the liquidator trustee of the company. So hopefully some of the people who lost money will, in those Deep Root investments, will get some of their money back. The actual amount hasn't been disclosed. I think it's mentioned somewhere that might have been 85,000, but that wasn't in the court filing. But a motion for the court to agree the settlement has been filed. So just that's the latest update on that. Secondly, in our other news, there's a company we mentioned before called Ballarama.
Right.
Yes, Australian proposed pinball maker. They've decided to throw in the towel. And decided that the pinball market is too expensive to get into without a significant backing, which they didn't find forthcoming. So
it didn't look like they had any money, but okay.
Well, no, they were hoping to get somebody else to back their project, which is never an easy thing to do. They didn't ever get around to revealing the game, but they never took anyone's money, and they did seem to file a number of pinball-related patents, though. So maybe those have some value in some way down the line, but at the moment it was look at it as just a dream that never happened. We all have Well, not all, but many of us have a dream of being able to get into pinball manufacturing and bring our many imagined designs, I should say, to reality. But it is a dream, and it looks like that one is over for now.
It's a complicated one.
Yeah, apparently pinball is hard.
Yeah, who knew?
Oh, I know. You thought somebody would have told us by now. Yeah.
So, anyway, that rounds it up for all our exciting news for the month of April 2025.
I think it does, yes. We'll be back at the start of June with our next pinball industry news, PINcast, looking back at all the excitement in the pinball world throughout this month that we're in now, the month of May.
Right. So, don't forget, the PINcast that you're listening to is actually the PINcast the industry listens to.
That's a good point. Yes, that's right. So anyway, until next month, from me, Martin Ayer.
And me, Jonathan Houston.
We hope you have an amazing May. See what we did there?
Yeah, I see what you did
That's good, isn't it? We look forward to joining you again next month for the next edition of the Pinball Industry News PINcast. So for now, bye.
Bye-bye.